welcome back everyone to Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It is time for lesson 69 and let's talk about a heavy topic. Well, compared to all the other topics, it is a rather heavier topic. Today, we'll talk about animal abuse. Okay, animal abuse. There are a lot of people around the world that abuse animals for many different reasons. One could be that they have no idea, they don't realize what they are doing. Another reason could be just out of curiosity, and many more reasons. But I think that it should definitely be stopped. Now, animal cruelty is a very disturbing problem. At current right now, even today, perhaps even as we speak, there is animal cruelty or animal abuse going on. Now, hunting could actually be a very strong topic for debate as well. But anyhow, there are experiments done on animals. And people say the reason is because animals are very much like us. Anyhow, there is a rampant abuse of animals, especially animals used for food. So that is something that you and we all should consider. Anyhow, let's talk about today's topic. Once again, animal abuse. Let's get started.
Rachel, for the longest time I have been proud to say I only purchase free-range eggs, because I totally disagree with like battery farming where they have thousands of chickens in this small, tiny, almost factory, right?
Right.
And I was just wondering, do you care about that kind of animal abuse and animal rights?
To be honest, I'm not really an expert about animal abuse, but
Sure.
I am becoming more aware of what's going on in, say, like the meat industry
Sure.
and the animal cruelty that's going on. And I have been affected a little bit in my lifestyle choices because of that.
Wow.
So, for example, I'm not a very big fur person. I won't really purchase fur because of the animal cruelty that could be happening behind the fur industry.
Sure.
Granted, I think some companies may be better at it, but I know
ethically sourcing their fur somehow.
somehow, if that's possible, yeah. But I tend to stay away from fur for those reasons.
Sure.
But you know, I think a lot of people have become vegetarians because of the animal cruelty that has been going on, say, in the meat industry.
I think a lot of that happened, especially when I was in like middle school or high school. On the back of all the outrage about terrible farming techniques, a lot of my friends, temporarily, they became vegetarians because then they missed the taste of meat and stuff like that. I don't think it's an easy lifestyle choice to make. And it's really difficult to choose meats based on how it's sourced. You know, there's no labels on packaging saying this meat was sourced from a free-range cow or something.
Right, exactly. It's really hard to figure out the source of your food. It's important for consumers to figure that out as well. So I think that what we could do as consumers is to kind of research where our food is coming from and maybe stay away from companies that are known or infamous for animal cruelty.
Yeah,
and things like
I think
that.
that's the next step, right? And that would definitely help lower the rates of animal abuse, I guess.
Okay, welcome back everyone. It is time for us to focus on today's conversation, today's actual talk conversation. So today's topic is, once again, animal abuse. Now, the pronunciation is abuse. Abuse. You may abuse an animal, but let's talk about animal abuse today. 동물 학대, right? So what did Peter say? He mentioned something about only buying free-range eggs. We'll talk about what that exactly is. And what Rachel mentioned is that she tries not to buy fur because she knows the pain and all the suffering that animals go through just because people want their fur. Kill animals just for their fur. Okay, let's take it line by line then. Now, Peter says, Rachel, I only purchase free-range eggs. Okay, so free-range eggs. Now, we're talking about eggs, of course, but eggs from chickens that run around freely, for example, okay? So there may be farmland just out in the plains, if there's chicken running around and they're free and not just caged up in a small cage, you would call them free-range eggs, okay? So he only buys free-range eggs because I totally disagree with factory farming, okay? Now, when we talk about factory farming, especially chicken, right? Chickens, we're talking about chickens that are just locked up in very tiny cages, and that's what he talks about, where they have thousands of, keep in mind, the S should be there, thousands of chickens in this small, tiny, okay, almost factory. I think he was talking about those cages. They're often even called battery cages, the cages in which chickens are kept in. One thing to pay attention though here is we've got thousands of chickens. Chickens with an S, okay? What does chickens mean and what does chicken mean? Okay? Usually if there is an S, we're talking about the bird itself. Chickens. Chickens run around. There are 10 chickens, for example. But if we say chicken, we're talking about the actual meat from chickens, okay? 닭고기를 말하겠죠. And here we're talking about actual birds, okay, that are alive. Thousands of chickens are in the small, tiny, almost factory, or as I mentioned, battery cages. Now, Rachel says, right. And then he continues on. And I was just wondering, okay, here's a question. Do you care about animal abuse and animal rights? Okay. And Rachel says, to be honest, I'm not really an expert about animal abuse. Well, actually, in this case, the correct form would be to be an expert on something, okay? Although Rachel did mention about, here's a correction, a slight correction, to be an expert on. So she says, I'm not really an expert on animal abuse, meaning she does not know that much about animal abuse. But I am becoming more aware. I'm finding out a lot more about what's going on in the meat industry and animal cruelty. So she's saying that each and every day she's learning more about what's happening, what's going on in the meat industry, and also she's finding out a lot more about animal cruelty or animal abuse. Okay? And she says, and I have been affected, meaning influenced a little bit in my lifestyle choices, meaning choices that she makes in life, okay? Now, why? Because of that, okay? Because of all the cruelty that is going on in the meat industry. And she says, for example, I'm not a very big fur person. Now, we're getting a lot of cat people, fur person, dog person. So in this case, I'm sure you know now by now, a fur person is what? Not a person that has a lot of hair, but we're talking about a person that likes fur. That's right, is a huge fan of fur. So she says, I am not a very big fur person, meaning I don't really like fur. I won't really purchase. She won't, okay? So it's negative. I won't purchase fur. Why? Because of the animal cruelty that could be happening. We're talking about the possibility that could be happening behind the fur industry. Now, it's quite simple, the sentence itself. She's saying, I don't really want to. I try not to buy fur. Why? Because of the animal cruelty that I know of that could be happening behind the fur industry. Behind? Well, in this case, behind does not really mean behind. 어디 뒤에서라기보다는 that's actually concealed. Okay? The scene that is not shown to people. Okay? The scene that is often hidden. Okay? What we don't know in the fur industry, meaning behind the fur industry. Now she says, granted, meaning agree, I agree. I think some companies may be better at it, but yes, I'm not quite sure, but I know. Now, she's saying, I understand, I agree with you, you've got a point, but I know that it is a reality. Now, ethically, sourcing their fur somehow. Now, ethically, ethical, okay? It has to do with morals, right or wrong conduct, okay? I think we say 윤리, 도덕적으로, right? That's very close to ethical or ethically. Source, sourcing. Here, the source word we have right here is used in the verb form, okay? A source could be something that you obtain something from, right? But if you source something, it's actually just obtaining, okay? So the proper way to get their fur would be an easier way to translate this sentence. Okay, moving on. Now, Rachel says somehow, if that's possible, you know, doing it ethically, okay? Ethically sourcing fur and not putting these animals in so much pain. But I tend to stay away from. We went over this a long time too. I stay away from, I try to stay away from fur for those reasons. And I think a lot of people have become vegetarians, okay? Why? Because of the animal cruelty that has been going on, once again, that has been happening, say, in the meat industry. The say here is just another way of saying for example. You know, for example, in the meat industry. So she's talking about her experience, okay? Because of these reasons, she tries to stay away from buying fur. And she knows a lot of people that have become vegetarians, people that don't eat meat. Why? Because of the same reason that's been going on, especially, for example, in the meat industry. Now, Peter says, I think a lot of that happened, especially when I was in middle school or high school. He's talking about his experience. And then he says, on the back of all the outrage about terrible farming techniques. On the back of something, it means after something happens. If something happens additionally, okay, it means on the back of something. And outrage, we're talking about very big anger, okay, serious anger. All the outrage. So he's talking about a lot of that happened when I was younger in middle or high school. Yeah, because of all of that, all of the anger people felt about terrible farming techniques. And he talks about his friends. A lot of my friends temporarily, that's what? Not forever, but temporarily, for a short time, they became vegetarians. And then he says, I don't think it's an easy lifestyle choice. One more time, a lifestyle choice to make. Meaning he's talking about becoming a vegetarian and not eating meat suddenly. He's saying it's not easy. It's not an easy lifestyle choice. And it's really difficult to choose meat based on how it is sourced. One more time, sourced. Obtained, okay? You get something. You can source something. You can obtain something. So he's talking about how it's difficult to choose, which meats to choose and which meats not to choose, okay? There are no labels. label, I think we say that in Korean, it's labels on packaging, saying this meat was sourced from, here, free-range cow or something. So he's simply saying, you know, it's difficult to choose which meats to eat, which meats not to eat, because we don't know exactly where it comes from, okay? And he's saying we don't know because it's not written on the labels saying, oh, this is from a free-range cow or not, okay? Well, anyhow, let's move on. Now, Rachel says, I think what we could do as consumers, people that buy things, is to research, okay, where our food is coming from, where it comes from, and maybe stay away from companies that are known or infamous for animal cruelty and things like that. Now, that are known for something or infamous for. Infamous is another word for notorious. Notorious. Infamous. Somebody can be infamous for something, meaning to have a bad reputation for something, okay? So we should stay away from companies that have a bad reputation because of animal cruelty. Stay away from companies that are infamous for animal cruelty. That about wraps it up for today's conversation. Let's have a listen one more time.
Rachel, for the longest time, I have been proud to say I only purchase free-range eggs, because I totally disagree with like battery farming, where they have thousands of chickens in this small, tiny, almost factory, right?
Right.
And I was just wondering, do you care about that kind of animal abuse and animal rights?
To be honest, I'm not really an expert about animal abuse, but I
Sure.
am becoming more aware of what's going on in, say, like the meat industry
Sure.
and the animal cruelty that's going on. And I have been affected a little bit in my lifestyle choices because of that.
Wow.
So, for example, I'm not a very big fur person. I won't really purchase fur because of the animal cruelty that could be happening behind the fur industry.
Sure.
Granted, I think some companies may be better
Yeah.
at it, but I know
Ethically sourcing their fur somehow.
somehow if that's possible, yeah. But I tend to stay away from fur for those reasons.
Sure.
But I think a lot of people have become vegetarians because of the animal cruelty that has been going on, say,
Yeah.
in the meat industry.
I think a lot of that happened, especially when I was in like middle school or high school, on the back of all the outrage about terrible farming techniques. A lot of my friends, temporarily, they became vegetarians because then they missed the taste of meat and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't think it's an easy lifestyle choice to make. And it's really difficult to choose meats based on how it's sourced. There's no labels on packaging saying this meat was sourced from a free-range cow or something.
Right, exactly. It's really hard to figure out the source of your food. It's important for consumers to figure that out as
Yeah.
well. So I think that what we could do as consumers is to kind of research where our food is coming from and maybe
Sure.
stay away from companies that are known or infamous for animal cruelty.
Yeah,
And
I,
things
I
like
think
that.
that's the next step, right? And that would definitely help lower the rates of animal abuse, I guess.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Are you ready for some vocab and some patterns for today? Here, it's time for actual expressions. Let's begin with a word that means 윤리적 or 도덕적으로 옳은, okay? Something that is proper or has to do with morals, something that is right or wrong in conduct. So the word is ethical. In the conversation, we had ethically, right? But here, ethical. Some synonyms are humane, proper, or even appropriate. But in today's conversation, I would say humane is the closest word with the same definition. Okay? Moving on to source. Noun and verb, it doesn't matter. The pronunciation is the same. Source. And also outrage. Peter was talking about his middle and high school years, right? Outrage. Some synonyms are anger, shock, and hurt. So we're talking about very strong feelings of anger, resentment, or even hurt caused by something, okay? Moving on to today's patterns then. Now, that's very easy. Go on. Go on was mentioned about twice in today's actual talk. And as I mentioned, it means to happen. Go on. Happen mean the same thing. Here are a few sample sentences. Do you know what's going on between A and B, Joe and Sarah? Meaning, do you know what's happening between Joe and Sarah? Are they dating? Or did they have a fight? What's happening between them? What's going on between them? Okay? Another sample sentence. What in the world went on here? Let's take it into the past. Go on. The past of go is went, so you can say what in the world went on here? Meaning, what happened here? Why is the room such a mess? What happened here? What in the world went on here? Okay? Moving on to our next pattern. Now, stay away from something or someone. Okay? Keep distance from something or someone, right? So here we go with a sample sentence. On first dates, okay, I stay away from the subjects of politics and religion. Okay, so here, This person is saying on first dates, I stay away from 거리를 둔다, meaning I will not ask questions or talk about subjects related to politics and religion. I'll keep my distance from those subjects. Once again, on first dates, I stay away from the subjects of politics and religion. Okay. What about this one? If someone keeps bothering you and you want him or her to go away, you can say, stay away from me. Stay away from me. Stay away from me. Don't come anywhere near me. Hey, go away. Stay away from me. Got it? Okay, let's move on to our next pattern. Now, infamous for, as I mentioned, it means the same thing as notorious. Infamous. Infamous. The stress goes on the first syllable. Infamous means to have a bad reputation for something. So you can say some entertainment agencies, not all, but just a few, or maybe just a couple, some entertainment agencies are infamous for stealing money. Okay, taking away people's money. From who? From rookie actors and singers. Okay, so you all know what an actor is or who a singer is, but rookie right here is like a beginner. Okay, beginner, someone that's just starting out. So some of these entertainment agencies are infamous for, they're known for, they have a bad reputation for taking money, stealing money from rookie actors and singers. What about this one? He was infamous for cheating on exams. Once again, infamous for doing something. Infamous for something. He was infamous for cheating on exams. So maybe if you had a friend in school, or if you do have a friend in school that cheats on exams all the time, and if he or she has a bad reputation for cheating all the time, you can say he is or he was infamous for cheating on exams. Okay, I guess that does it for today's actual expressions. Practice them more on your own.
I think animal abuse is a really important topic to address. I haven't really seen any or had any personal experience with it or known anyone to have actually abused an animal, but in America you always see commercials for promoting animal shelters and protecting animals who have been abused, and you always see the really emotional commercials of pictures with dogs that have been hurt and cats that can't see because they've been abused. And so it really shows that it's something that needs to be addressed. And in America, we have a lot of some laws down to try and prevent animal abuse, but they don't always get respected. And that's why these animal shelters fighting animal abuse are so important. And so I feel like in Korea that could be a really big thing too, because I've seen a lot of stray cats around, and so I think just preventing animal abuse would be a really good endeavor.
Well, thanks to Christina for today's actual story. I'm going to have to agree with her about prevention being very important. Preventing things is one of the most important things, I think, in anything and everything that we all have to deal with in our everyday lives. So here we go. Let's check out what Christina mentioned. All right. So we're talking about animal abuse, and she begins like this. I think animal abuse is a really important topic to address. Okay. So she's talking about the importance of the topic, a great way to start, okay? But here we've got the word address. It can be pronounced two ways, right? 주소를 뜻한 때는요. You can say address or address. But in this case, it means to discuss, to deal with. And in that case, you should say address, address. So one more time, I think animal abuse is a really important topic to address. I think it is a very important topic to discuss, to deal with, to talk about. Moving on. In America, you always see commercials promoting animal shelters and protecting animals that have been abused. So we're talking about abused animals. And these commercials, they do what? They promote animal shelters. We talked about animal shelters, okay? And they also protect animals. So she's talking about what she has seen in America, commercials. In America, we have a lot of laws. What are these laws for? Trying to prevent animal abuse. So there are many laws that, I guess, tell people or make people not abuse animals, simply put. So these laws try to prevent animal abuse, stop it from happening. I feel like in Korea, now she's moving on to Korea, okay? That could be a really big thing too. That meaning we're talking about animal abuse. So she's saying not only in America, but I feel that, I think that even here in Korea, animal abuse, or that could be a big thing. It could be a big problem as well, okay? And one last sentence. I think preventing, okay, animal abuse would be a really good endeavor, okay? It's a difficult word right here. It basically means an effort. It's a very important effort to make. It's something that people should try to stop. Yes, preventing animal abuse is a very good effort. Okay, thanks to Christina once again. Take a listen one more time.
I think animal abuse is a really important topic to address. I haven't really seen any or had any personal experience with it or known anyone to have actually abused an animal. But in America, you always see commercials for promoting animal shelters and protecting animals who have been abused. And you always see the really emotional commercials of pictures with dogs that have been hurt and cats that can't see because they've been abused. And so it really shows that it's something that needs to be addressed. And in America, we have a lot of some laws down to try and prevent animal abuse, but they don't always get respected. And that's why these animal shelters fighting animal abuse are so important. And so I feel like in Korea that could be a really big thing too, because I've seen a lot of stray cats around, and so I think just preventing animal abuse would be a really good endeavor.
Well, time is almost up, everyone. Job well done. Thanks for sticking around. Now, as we were talking about animal abuse today, prevention, as Christina mentioned, I think is very important. And it's also very important to bring awareness on the cruelty that these animals are suffering. So if you feel that animals can think, if animals can feel and even feel pain like us, I think it's important for us to try to even just spread the message. Let people know it's happening, okay? Talk about animal abuse and what we can do to prevent it. Okay, next time I'll join you back with this topic. Many animals or animal species, even plant species, are disappearing. And some of them don't exist anymore. So we'll talk about animal extinction or even endangered animals. Animals that will soon go extinct, soon disappear. In the meantime, come to our homepage. Come to www.ebse.co.kr. You know what to look for. Look for Actual English with me. And I'm going to have to say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.